Welcome back to my channel IMDb Recap. Today I'm going to explain an action fantasy movie Clash of the Titans, released in 2010. The movie is about Perseus, a demigod and the son of Zeus, who battles Hades, the god of the underworld, to save Princess Andromeda and the city of Argos. But before we begin to explore this journey, we request all our IMDb viewers to please subscribe to our channel so that we can keep contents like this. And beware of the spoilers. The movie opens with a box floating far away in the sea. An elder fisherman named Spiro sees the box and drags it towards him. Upon opening the box, the fisherman finds a dead body of a woman along with her newborn, who is surprisingly still alive, and the man adopts the baby as his own son. He names the child Perseus. As the boy grows up, he becomes a fisherman like his father. 18 years later, we see Perseus and his family voyaging to find a new home because the place they lived had now become a center of violence and bloodshed. On their way, they witness an enormous sculpture of Zeus being vandalized by the soldiers of Argos. The statue falls off the cliff and submerges into the water, and the soldiers celebrate the victory. However, the victory doesn't last longer, and turns into a catastrophe when the sky becomes darkened from the clouds and numerous flying creatures come screaming out of the ocean. These creatures kill all the soldiers ruthlessly for insulting their gods. The creatures soon form a dark pattern and transform into Hades, the underworld god. They then charge towards Perseus' ship and knocks the ship into the ocean. Perseus' ship sinks at once, and his whole family except him drowns to death. After this traumatic incident, Perseus is distraught and develops revengeful behavior towards the gods. In the following scene, the viewers come to know about the background of the Titans. After defeating the old gods, who are called Titans, the new Olympian gods divide their world. Zeus begins to rule the sky, and Poseidon starts to rule the sea, whereas Hades is given the job of ruling the underworld. Sometime later, Zeus forms mortal human beings whose worship helped the gods live an immortal life. However, the mortals began defying the gods and start blaspheming. First, they destroy temples, and then they demolish Zeus' statue, which shows the sign of war. In Zeus' view, the humans should now be taught a harsh lesson and should be punished for their deeds. Thereafter, we are familiarized with Hades, who has come out of underworld after many ages. Humans were made to worship gods, but they led rebellions against the gods. In this aftermath, Hades gives options to his brother, Zeus, to spread fear among people. Hades thinks that by doing so, the humans will return to worshipping gods instead of fighting them. Apollo disagrees with Hades, as he says they need human prayers to continue with their immortal life. Seeing no other option, Zeus, the god of love and peace, agrees with Hades. In a different scene, we see that the soldiers of Argos are taking Perseus with them as a hostage. They take Perseus to the king's palace, where they tell their kings that their mission against the gods had been successful, though they suffered heavy casualties. The king, Cepheus, announces a celebration of their victory and says that time has come when the gods will have no more power over the humans. However, the king's daughter, Princess Andromeda, seems unhappy with this rebellion against the gods, as she believes that there can be severe consequences for fighting the gods. But her mother, Queen Cassiopeia, laughs proudly and states that they themselves can now start acting as gods. Suddenly, the lights inside the palace begin to dim as a dark spot appears in the center of the palace. We see a mysterious creature emerge from the darkness, and immediately it starts pulling all the men standing in the hall towards itself. While all the humans die one by one, Perseus manages to escape. The dark spot turns into Hades, and he takes the life of the queen. Hades warns the people that he will unleash the Kraken onto the city in 10 days, when the sun eclipses, unless they sacrifice their princess for offending the gods. It is learnt that Kraken is this huge sea creature which has the power to swallow an entire city. After seeing Hades, Perseus gets out of control and attempts to attack Hades. But before Hades disappears, he reveals that Perseus is one of the sons of Zeus and that Perseus should be held accountable for the upcoming catastrophe. Angrily, the soldiers take Perseus to the prison, and they torture him to learn how to avoid the curse. In the next scene, we see Io, a mysterious woman cursed with immortality, visiting Perseus in the cell. She knows everything about Perseus' past, and she identifies him as a demigod, as he is an offspring of a god and a human. She tells him that before his birth, King Acrisius led a siege on Mount Olympus in an attempt to rebel against the gods. When Zeus came to know that King Acrisius is rebelling against the gods, he chooses to punish the king in a terrible way to set an example for other humans. Zeus planned to make love with the queen disguising as Acrisius. Angrily, the king Acrisius decides to kill his wife along with Zeus's baby after he finds that his wife has slept with his enemy, Zeus. Io also tells Perseus that he has the power of a demigod and that he can defeat Kraken, a sea monster created from Hades' flesh. Perseus joins the Argos army under Draco's command, seeing it as an opportunity to seek revenge for his family's murderer. Meanwhile, we see that Perseus, along with soldiers, reaching a forest, and they discover an aura of light. As he inches closer towards the aura, he finds a magical weapon made from heaven, which is comparatively more powerful than any other weapon. But he does not take the weapon as he knows that this is a gift from Zeus, who is his father and the reason for his mother's death. Shortly after, he comes across numerous white horses with black wings. Suddenly, a flying horse attacks him, and he falls down. Few moments later, we see Io appear and tell Perseus about the magical horse, Pegasus. Their conversation is interrupted by a cry, which makes Perseus run towards the soldier, and he finds that Acrisius has killed 2 soldiers. Acrisius starts attacking Perseus and pushes him off the hill, then runs after him like a beast. Perseus narrowly escapes the attack when Acrisius attacks him from behind. Draco intervenes in the fight and saves Perseus by chopping off Acrisius' hand. As soon as they realize that Acrisius is injured, Perseus, along with other soldiers, run to kill the enemy. But just as things were looking normal in this otherwise an out-of-ordinary movie, the chopped hand of Acrisius turns into a massive poisonous scorpion, and it shakes the ground, which makes the soldiers flee in fear. The monster scorpion attacks the men furiously, and the men fight back to defend themselves. Draco, the colonel, attacks the scorpion from behind and stabs it with sharp blades. One of the soldiers throws a spear towards Draco, with which he kills the vicious scorpion. Perseus fights another monster as the latter grabs Io, who is standing nearby watching the entire fight. Petrified, Perseus takes Io and runs away after he finds himself weaker against the giant monster. After an intense fight, Perseus manages to kill the monster. It was only a few moments later that they see more scorpions approaching towards them. Before the scorpions could have attacked the men, mysterious being named Jinns read out chants loudly from the far end, which made all the scorpion freeze. The Jinn controls the scorpion with magic. The soldiers rush towards the Jinns to save their lives, and probably the only way for them to complete the journey before the sun eclipses. We see the army of Draco reach the Garden of Stygia, home to dangerous witches. The group climbs up the mountain and gathers at the center after treading carefully. Suddenly, 3 hideous creatures without eyes appear, and they begin to attack the group before Perseus manages to steal their only eye and threatens that he will destroy it unless the witches disclose the secret on how to kill Kraken. The witches inform the demigod that only Medusa can kill Kraken. Perseus hurls away the eye after hearing the solution to slay the giant beast. However, the witches foretell Perseus that he will die on the way to Medusa. After hearing the unpleasant news, many of the soldiers leave Perseus. While climbing down the mountain, Zeus approaches Perseus disguised as an ordinary man. Zeus tells Perseus that his life will end before he reaches Medusa's lair as prophesied by the witches. Zeus offers Perseus protection, so that he may live in heaven with the other gods, but Perseus refuses to live with gods and prefers to die as a human. Sympathizing with his son, Zeus gives Perseus a coin that will protect him during the journey. After traveling across many lands, the group finally reaches a giant hole inside the surface of the earth, and they see a mysterious river covered in fog. Perseus takes the coin given to him by his father, Zeus, and gives it to the Jinns, who throw it into the river to bribe the ferryman to let them in the underworld. We see numerous souls coming out of the river, dragging a boat behind them. The dead souls lead them towards their destination, traveling across the river that is filled with melted rocks. After reaching the farther end of the river, they arrive at the entrance of the Medusa lair, where all except Io can proceed. As they enter the lair, they see lava and frozen sculptures of the men who have been subjected to Medusa's wrath. Suddenly, multiple arrows are shot towards the soldiers, causing them to fall into the lava pits. Draco instructs the soldiers to find Medusa and kill her, while Perseus manages to rescue the Jinn. Perseus, along with the Jinns, evades the arrows. We see Medusa chasing Perseus as he comes out of the sanctuary. After luring Medusa, Perseus attacks her head, but unfortunately the attack misses its target and Perseus gets trapped. During this struggle, it is revealed that Medusa is cursed that any human who looks into her eye would turn into stone. Next, we see that Medusa tries to turn the Jinn into stones, but she cannot do so as the Jinn has no flesh in his body. The Jinn blows himself up, knocking the monster away. Before the monster regains her composure, Draco jumps onto her head and knocks her down. While Medusa turns Draco into a statue, Perseus aims for her head and manages to cut right through the creature, and she falls on the ground. Perseus comes out of the lair as the only survivor, carrying the monster's head. However, when he gets out of the lair, he finds Io stabbed in the back by Acrisius. Angrily, Perseus charges at Acrisius, but he gets knocked to the ground by the creature. After finding no way around, Perseus takes the god's weapon and strikes Acrisius in the head, causing him to fall upside down into the abyss. Before Io dies, she tells Perseus to save the people of Argos instead of killing the Kraken before the eclipse. Shortly after, we see a Pegasus flying towards Perseus, who guides him towards the city of Argos. As the time of the eclipse approaches, all of Hades' creatures emerge from the ocean and start to head towards the city. Petrified, the people offer the Princess Andromeda to the gods as a sacrifice so that the city can be saved from the wrath of the gods. Suddenly, the palace starts shaking and a state of commotion prevails across the city. On the other side, we see Perseus riding Pegasus towards Kraken to kill him, but Hades senses Perseus' presence and charges the demigod. Perseus eventually reaches the city where he sees the destruction being caused by the creatures. The Kraken appears out of nowhere, and everyone is taken aback by his massive size. Perseus pursues the demons while narrowly avoiding Kraken's attacks, who is also pursuing him. Before the Kraken could have killed the princess, Perseus rushes to take Medusa's head out and shows it to the Kraken, which gradually turns the creature into stones. Consequently, the giant monster breaks down into multiple small pieces of stone. At the same time, we see the princess falls into the water. Meanwhile, Hades appears and tries to take revenge on Perseus for killing Kraken, but Perseus manages to send the deity back to the underworld by using the weapon gifted by Zeus. Perseus jumps into the water and rescues the princess. Later the princess asks him to marry her, but Perseus refuses. After Perseus takes the princess back to Argos, Zeus appears, and surprisingly, he brings Io, the woman who Perseus loves, back to life as a reward for saving the lives of the people. Perseus spends the rest of his life with Io and the movie ends here. Overall, Clash of the Titans is a great movie to watch with a fantastic storyline, so make sure to check it out. To watch many more exciting recaps like this, please don't forget to subscribe, as that is the only way for us to bring you exciting content like this on our channel. Let us know in the comments section about your next favorite movie that you would like us to recap. Thanks again for watching and stay safe and healthy.